Not my skill set, nor do I want to learn it.
Sometimes, because I put up stuff which I kind of test
in the wilderness. I don't know if I was the best one to teach them that. However, and although it was a really
that when you said, I was like, oh,
throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
I do know where that.
So for me, rather than doing something half-heartedly or like just half.
The BBs, Barbara Ellison and Barbara Beckley. Yay!
Hello.
And this is the part where we have our special guests that I have to always give so much love to Barbara Ellison because she brings in royalty. And as I call for women, I always call them queens and the men kings. And we have Queen Debbie today. Yes, wear the crown, be proud.
Okay, that's a really big hat to wear, or crown, if I should say. I certainly don't think of myself as a queen, but thank you so much, both Barbaras, for inviting me to be on this show. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, the thing I always ask people, because, I look at us as royalty because we've been through ups, downs all over the place, and then we still serving and helping others in the world. So you're doing that through so many rare things. You got your own podcast and a lot of other things, but I don't want to mess that up because I want to hear basically how, Miss Queen Debbie got to where she was to now and how she's helping others.
Okay, well, I live in rural Saskatchewan, Canada, and I was raised on a farm. I had 3 siblings, had a lovely childhood. What we lacked in money, we made up for in love and community. And I was very blessed to have the growing up years I had. And then I was a pharmacist for 40 years, a community pharmacist, a job which I loved. I retired in 2018. But my podcasting career didn't start, or if I want to call it a career, it's been a passion project of mine to start with. It happened after I retired. And I always had a desire to think about what a gift it is for us to grow older. So my parents didn't live to grow old. I had 2 sisters that died far too young. My youngest sister was actually murdered when she was only 24. My sister, who was a year older than myself, passed away at age 53 after living with pretty severe multiple sclerosis for many of those years, but she did end up passing away from breast cancer when she was only 53. And my brother is still alive, but my parents both died far too young as well. And I always thought, okay, if we get to live past a certain age, and I've just picked that randomly at age 50, that it is really a gift for us to appreciate and embrace. And there must be a reason why I'm still here and they aren't. They had done nothing wrong. I have enjoyed good health. I had a wonderful husband. I have 3 grown, lovely children. Now I have 2 grandsons and another grandchild on the way. So I have many things to be thankful for in my life. But I started thinking that I wanted to do something different in my retirement. And I dove into volunteering and traveling. And then the pandemic hit and that kind of dried up. And so things were starting to get back to normal after that. And I had started the concepts and a little bit of the genesis of my podcast. And I had decided to call it Older and Bolder. And then my husband became very ill. And he was diagnosed with bowel cancer. And so, of course, all of those plans were put on the back burner. And his care and his well-being took center stage, which it should have, and it did. And unfortunately, he did pass away, and I found myself being a widow. So after a few months, it did make me even more passionate that this was a message I wanted to give out to the world, that we are fortunate to be here. Let's embrace our older years and appreciate them for what they are. And so I did move forward with my podcast. I interview women who are fearless, fabulous, and 50 plus. So, of course, one of those women is Barbara Ellison, and she is, her episode has not been released yet, but we found each other. And of course, she is fearless, fabulous, and 50 plus. So, she is one of my guests. And I launched in March of 2023. And it has been very fulfilling for me. I've totally enjoyed it. I've got to meet so many wonderful women through the podcast. I've had incredibly positive feedback, and I just love doing it. So I'm very blessed with that. And of course, now my volunteer work has come back, that we're allowed in long-term facilities and youth centers and all these things that those things had kind of dried up when there were restrictions during the pandemic. So my life is full now, and that's where I am right now.
Wow. Woo. So much good golden nuggets. First, I just want to commend you, Debbie, for, like you said, stepping out of your comfort zone. Really saying that, I not only I want to show people that I can do things after a certain age, because this age is nothing but a number, and I truly believe that. But also creating a podcast and hearing other people's story over that age to say, you know what, you can do whatever you want to do, just do it, right? And my co-host shows me and is example of that every single second of the day. I mean, this lady rides a motorcycle. She's on a boat one weekend. She's on a motorcycle the next weekend. She's over there,
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, there's no excuse, no excuse that you can't do what you want to do at any age.
Yeah,
Exactly. So people that have limitations, they can move forward and make the best of what they do have.
And what they do have, yeah.
right. It does, like so many people say, well, I can't do that because I'm this.
Yeah.
Well, work around this. Work around it, because that's one of the things that I have found so often is that people stop themselves.
Yeah.
They think about one thing that they can't do. Well, learn how to do it. And you'll find somebody else that doesn't know how to do it and do it together. There's all sorts of different ways. And when Debbie first told me that she wanted me on her podcast, and number one, I said, well, how did you find me? She said, well, I saw you on another podcast. And I went, oh, well, thank you very much. And she reached out to me and I said, well, what's the name of your podcast? And she said, well, it's Older and Bolder. And I said, I'm in. Because that's the biggest thing is just because we're getting older, we can get bolder.
Yeah.
Bolder in our outlook, bolder in our colors.
Yeah.
Notice the red glasses and the red lipstick. That, you know what? Yeah, absolutely. Just age is a number on a calendar or on a document.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And I believe that all the three of us are all witnesses and living testaments to that.
Yes, definitely.
And we want to bring more people into our sphere of being older and bolder.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Older and bolder. And, I was talking to a friend of mine. We haven't talked in a while. And I'm in my, like I said, upper 50s, going to be 60 in a minute. And we were just talking about back in the, how you say, oh, back in the day we did this and everything like that. And then she said, you know what I want to do, Barbara? I said, what do you want to do? She said, I want to climb, just go on a mountain, just climb the highest one I can. It doesn't have to be way high, but just say that I did it. I said, well, when you going to do it? She's like, I don't know. She said, there's so many things going on, maybe the next 2 or 3 years. I said, no, you need to schedule it out this year. So I gave her a homework assignment. And I said, you want to schedule it between the next 6 months. I want you to send me a picture with your, and say, hey, I'm on this mountain. And I said, even if it's just like just a few steps higher than what you do. And she said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And see, that's what we just need. We need to, especially as women too, as our queens, We need to push each other out of those comfort zones and always say, well, maybe, I don't know, I'm the way I'm feeling right now, the way I'm, how we said about all this stuff that we let stuff stop us, and just say, let's just do it. And you're not saying, and I always tell people, well, how about if this happens? You know how people say, well, if I do this, I said, but if you don't do it, then you never know. That's what I tell people. I said, when you don't try, you never know where you can reach or whatever you did.
Yeah. So well said, Barbara. And it's so true. So many of my guests have proved that to me over and over again. Some of them have many severe disabilities or have shown amazing resilience after going through a lot of adversity. Others have just decided, I'm going to pivot and try this and that. And the older we get, I think the less we worry about people judging us. And a good saying is always, if not now, when? When? Yeah. And if we don't like it, if it doesn't make us happy, just stop doing it. That's what it's all about. But lifelong learning can certainly open up a lot of doors of opportunity that we can't even imagine.
Yes, I like what you said, Debbie, when you said, well, if not now, when? You're right. Because I always tell people we can make all the money, we can get all the friends and networking, but we can't get time back. There's one thing we can't pay for and say, oh, give me a few more years back, or give me a few more extra this from back before. No. So like you said, Deb, it's just like, if you're not going to do it now, but when? You have to ask, people need to ask themselves that question all the time. And I totally believe in that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think, like Barb and I, we've talked about this, and I'm sure, and I think Debbie, you and I talked about this, about the people that say, well, it's going to take 4 years to do that. Well, you can be 4 years older and not do it, or you can be 4 years older and do it. You're still going to be 4 years older.
Exactly.
Why not do it? And just see. And if you do find you're halfway through it and go, oh, I really should have. This was not a good choice. Okay, fine. That's a different story. And I've been there, done that. And I can remember to Barb one day, I said, I was doing something and I can't remember now. I don't even remember what it was. And I said, finally said, okay, God, why am I struggling with this? Why am I struggling with this? And he just spoke to my heart and said, because you're not supposed to be doing it. Ooh. and that can happen too.
Yeah.
But I was supposed to be doing it because somebody else told me I should do it. Yeah, well, no, I wasn't supposed to be doing it.
Yeah.
So, and that was a bit of a lesson for me too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Debbie, I was going to ask you, I know one of the things you talk about and with your podcast is, you listen to other guests and their stories. And I know you simplified how to step out of your comfort zone as we age. So what kind of, just to hear from you, what kind of recommendations or just things that you see that can help people come out of that comfort zone?
Oh, that's a very good question, Barbara. Kind of the themes that have been coming up time and time again are don't be scared. Don't be scared. What have you got to lose? Think about what would happen if I don't like it? What's going to happen if I embarrass myself? Well, all of us have been embarrassed from time to time. Once we get a certain age, it's like we can have that roll off our shoulder. But you should also ask yourself, what could be the possibilities? And, what do I have to gain? And the thing is, we can feel so much better about ourselves if we just try something new, try learning something new. And once we realize, well, sometimes maybe it's like, I don't know if that's for me. Like what Barbara said, we can give it up maybe, but we haven't, it hasn't hurt us a whole lot. It still allowed us to grow. And learning new things can give us a new sense of pride, increase our confidence, open new doors to meet new people, have new adventures. And it's like, wow, I think I can really do this, rather than thinking, oh, I'm too old to do that. I'm too this, I'm too that. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not, the right weight or whatever. We can come up with all those negatives, but to say, I'm going to try this. And I think it's really how we talk to ourselves. And if we believe that there's something in us that I think we can still do that, and to prove to ourselves we can.
Yeah. Ooh, golden nuggets drop. Oh, I love it, love it, love it. And I like when you were talking about, just taking that and what we got to lose. I like that part. And then also, we learn all the time. We're forever learning. Me and Barbara always talk about we should be forever learning all the time. And like you said, that when you go out of your comfort zone, that's an opportunity to learn something different. And sometimes even the point we've been saying before about learning maybe what not to do. I mean, I've stepped out of my comfort zone and said, okay, I know not to do that. That didn't work out. I didn't really like that. I didn't feel too comfortable about it. At least I did step out, but I know not to do that again. So it works both ways. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I really find that so many of my guests find that when they are learning something new or trying something different that they maybe couldn't have even imagined themselves doing, they end up really being happy and diving right into that. I had one guest who took up painting after her daughter was tragically killed by a drunk driver, and she was in a dark place. But she remembered that her and her daughter loved to paint together. She got the paints out, started painting more and more. She is a worldwide, highly acclaimed artist now, and her paintings sell for thousands of dollars and are hanging in offices and studios around the world. And that just shows you she could have never imagined that. And she's gone to painting workshops in Europe, and she's taught painting, and it's opened up a whole new world and brought her so much joy. And that there's many stories that women have shared that are kind of similar to that as well.
Right. And that's why I think it's so important for us for people to hear those stories. Mm-hmm. Because I truly believe that so often we feel like we're the only one. Yeah. That we're so alone that, oh yikes, how can I do that? Well, there's lots of people out there that are willing to help, that want to help, that want to come along with you or give you little lessons or whatever that is, or buy your painting. Mm-hmm. You never know, but until you try, you don't know. Yeah. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things. Just try it. Yeah. If it works, great. If it doesn't, oh well.
Yeah, that is another takeaway. Is to surround yourself with supportive people, because whatever you are trying, and to support others in their endeavors, because it might, rather than people saying, oh, are you sure you want to do that? It sounds a little crazy to me. Whether it's someone who wants to travel and experience new things, or I know when I decided I wanted to learn the Spanish language and went to school in Costa Rica for several years in a row, it's like a lot of people and my friends, that wouldn't be for them, but they're very supportive. They very, and my husband was supportive of me learning that as well. So that means the world, even if it isn't their thing or they don't want to do it themselves. Being supportive of others when they want to pursue their passions, I think it can go both ways and just be a win-win for everybody.
Right. I think what happens sometimes to people is that they allow the naysayers, the ones that say, really? Are you going to do that? And they listen. Yeah. Instead of saying, yeah, I am. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am going to do that. Because lots of times the naysayers are, I truly, this is probably my own just opinion, but once in a while it's like, well, they're just jealous that they didn't think of it and they're not willing to do it themselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they don't want you to do it and make them feel bad that, gee, that they didn't do it. Why didn't I do that? Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. So as we get older, we care less and less and less about what other people say.
Yeah, and we can surround ourselves with the supportive people and the ones that bring a smile to our faces and know that they really are our cheerleaders and not our naysayers. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just to add to that, I'm glad you brought it up about being surrounded by the right individuals to help and lift each other up. Because just today I was talking to another lady partner that I had a long time ago, and we haven't talked in a while, but now she basically publishes and edits, people's for their books. And I have one coming out in a few more months. And I basically, asked her, because I know she does good work. And she's like, Barbara, I never thought about this. You're always talking about power partners. I always tell people, I say, you have a power partner in your business. So, and I always look at that as other people coming in with their expertise, and we help each other out and help each other grow. She said, that is so powerful when you think about it, because it would take less time for probably all of us to get to a certain level in our business or personal life if we just had each other, encourage each other, teach each other, growing with each other. I said, yes. I said, so if we can just kind of just pack that and sell it and let people know that that is important to grow, that would be amazing. So then she asked, she said, okay, so when you can get on Shark Tank and try to sell that.
There you go.
I'll
be waiting for that episode.
I don't know if Mr. Wonderful will go for it. I don't know. He's a hard cookie. But
I know out of that show have come some amazing products.
Yes, truly
amazing products. But it really, I think one of the aspects of that show is that they really make people think.
Yes.
Because if that could come out as a thing, well then and why didn't I think of that? Or maybe, I bet I could do that and I could improve it.
Mm-hmm.
Innovation is so important. You might take one thing that's been around and let's take, for example, look at the light bulb. Look at light. I mean, we have ring lights, we have desk lights, we have phone lights, and it all started from Thomas Edison saying, gee, I want to make a light bulb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how many times, see, that's the other thing, just add to what you said, Barbara, about Thomas, Edison, about how it didn't take just one time and it was like, yay, I got it. Here we go with the light. I mean, over and over and over again. And that's where I feel like people kind of falter, because they feel like if it's not done the first or second time, it's like, oh, forget it. It's done. I don't know. And I'm like,
this isn't going to work.
Yes, right. It's not going to work. And you have to keep going at it, especially if you believe in it. And that's something that you want to see, grow or, go to the next level. Yeah. Right. It takes time.
Right.
And it can less time with others being with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not to be afraid to fail and try again. And you can do small, simple things. It doesn't have to be something huge like a new invention. It can be just trying to do something. I know there's many things around the house. My husband was the handyman and he was in construction. So I was not. So everything was him. But sometimes it surprises me. I might have to try it several times to do something, and then it does give me a sense of accomplishment if I'm able to finally do something that I hadn't been able to do before, and it can be something very simple.
Right. Go ahead, Barb.
I think one of the things too is that celebrate your progress. I'm going to tell on Barb and I. The other day we were looking for some stuff and we found one of our first shows. And we both looked at each other and went, oh yeah, we've come a long way.
Yes.
And we laughed. And so many people, they think, oh, I'm not getting this. I'm not, and yet they don't take the time to celebrate how far they've come. Mm-hmm. This is what I learned to do here, however long ago.
Yeah.
And yet they don't celebrate that.
Yeah, they don't. You have to celebrate.
And I think that's one of the biggest things is just chase those lions that are standing in your path and chase them instead of letting them stop you. Mm-hmm. So yeah, absolutely.
And another thing, just to add to the celebration of what you do, what you learn, whatever is going in your life, don't minimize it and put it at certain levels. I always hear a lot of people, oh, that was just a small thing, Barbara. It wasn't big. I said, no, it's something that you didn't know that you learned, you grew from it, and now you can help others. That's huge. And then when they say, well, if you say it like that, okay. Well, yeah. So stop saying this is medium, small, and high. Everything that you learn, everything that you get from others, everything we come together, like right now, I don't look at this as a small thing. This is a huge thing. I met Queen Debbie today. I mean, it's, with my co-host, which is always a pleasure. So I always look at that as, no, this is a good thing, and celebrate it and be thankful for it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and so many people that do inspiring things do not realize how many people they are inspiring. The first few guests I had on my podcast were people that I knew or knew of through acquaintances, and I had admired them from afar. Some of my closer friends, I think, knew I admired them, but maybe not to the degree I did. And so many were really shocked and surprised that I had asked them to be a guest, and I told them why and how inspiring I thought they were, and they were totally surprised by that. And so I think it is so true that we need to celebrate these people and respond to them and put their stories out into the world so they can inspire even more people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I like what you're doing with your show, Debbie, that, you are, it's like you're listening to different people listen to different voices and getting the hope and the knowledge from each and every person you have on your podcast. And that speaks volumes, so many volumes. That's why I always tell people, I say, I want to hear your backstory. I want to hear how you got to a certain place, because, some people, like Barbara said earlier, a lot of people feel like they're alone in whatever happened in their lives. But when they hear other people like this person, I mean, you basically gave me so much, Debbie, when you talked about your backstory about your sister. And unfortunately, God rest her soul, the one that, passed away and she was murdered. Well, my dad was murdered when I turned 17. So we can connect that already and how we both lost loved ones from a tragedy like that. And look at what we're doing right now. And I know they're probably shining down upon us saying, I'm so proud of Queen Debbie. Because we're moving forward. It's kind of like almost when you think about like a legacy to give to them, and just say, you know what, we're not going to go we could have went the opposite direction and went to press and went, the whole thing. We decided to say, no, we're going to take on this life and just run with it and be bold, as you said in your show. Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Barbara. And I really think all of these inspiring people that we come across in our lives really do touch our hearts and start to be woven into who we are, who we become, because every one of them has left an invaluable impression on me. And I thank each and every one of them for that. It really has opened up a lot of food for thought and reflection, and it's been priceless, the gifts that all my guests have given me through their own stories.
Yeah. A lot of times when I know I interview people and I get their stories, sometimes I forget that I'm a host because I'd be all engulfed. I'm like, wow. And they're like, Barbara, you have anything? I said, oh no, I was listening to your story. It was so powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's,
and I think that's one of the biggest things. Everybody has a story, and your story is important because it can change the life in an instant of someone else that's going through even remotely the same thing.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things when Debbie and I first talked, we realized, we're both widows.
Yeah, see?
And that camaraderie, and like you and Debbie with what happened to your family members. Yeah. Those are the connections. Those are the connections. And so many people are lacking connections.
Oh, so many. Yeah.
And an understanding. There's nothing like someone who has gone through a similar situation to have that inside understanding that you only get through experience.
Yeah. Some things are not, how a lot of people say, oh, I can learn that, you can teach me that. But some things, the experience alone teaches you. It's not like a certain skill that you take and you pay for. I mean, basically your stories are your experience that you grow from. And like you said, Debbie, it weaves into our own lives, even what happens with, people that are around us that we love. And we take that, and that's how we grow and we become who we are. So, I love it.
Yeah, I think it makes us more empathetic to others when we realize and really have intimate conversations or have experienced things ourselves, and we can put ourselves in others' shoes and relate to others who may have family members going through similar circumstances as well.
Yeah, or friends or loved ones, like you said. Yeah, I like how you use that word empathize with others, because that is so important. Especially I hear some people say, why are they going through that? I said, okay, you need to understand their story. You need to understand what they're dealing with. And then I kind of say, if it resonates with me, I kind of, fight for them and say, you know what, I went through something similar with them and I can understand it. Let's have some empathy here. Let's have some grace, with this person.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
This has been awesome. Well, Queen Deb, I'm going to ask you, I know we have your website here. I'm going to put it up here. And if there's any last thoughts that you wanted to say before we tie up for today?
Well, I love what both of you are doing, Barbara and Barbara, and I hope we connect again more. And thank you so much for having me on your show. I think the more that we spread messages of happiness, and it's our time to shine and stepping out of our comfort zones, the better it is. It brings smiles to more people's faces. And thank you so much. I just feel so privileged to be on your show.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Yes, it's just so. Miss Barbara Ellison, any last word before we sign off?
Just be you, like we have talked about so often. Be you, be bold. Be bold, and don't let anyone else tell you not to be.
Oh, I like that.
Don't let. This is your life, and you get to live your next chapter.
Yes.
What is that next chapter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes.
Great.
I love that. See, she always drops the golden nuggets. She does that.
That is definitely a golden nugget. So
we will see everybody. Thank you for coming in to see Time to Shine Happiness Show with the BBs, and we will see you next week.
We will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
bye-bye.
Well, goodbye, everybody, and thank you so much for listening to the Time to Shine Happiness Show. I'm your host, Barbara Ellison, and I look forward to seeing you next time, where we will have a great guest talking about making happiness the norm rather than the exception. Because we believe that each and every one of us deserves to lead a happy, healthy, debt-free, abundant life, whatever that means to you. So join us again. And please, to get reminded, hit the subscribe button or the like button wherever you're listening to us. And we will see you next time. Have a great week. Bye, everybody.